All right.
Oh, very good. This time I didn't get a window, talking about
Yeah, I know,
recording was
because
started and all
we'd
that. I had
already
to
it
click
stopped
through.
and started, right? All right. So hey,
Yeah,
everybody,
cool.
how you doing? Sam Baker here with
Hi.
Jim Day. Yep. And today, this is the second in our series of kind of quickie tips and tricks, and we think we're going to start to call this the circle of fits, and that's hopefully that kind of describes some of the situations that you're having with on song. So you
Well,
are
you can
seeing,
see it's already pulled all my hair out.
yeah, it's turned my hair black. So um, you are seeing one of Jim, and you are
Which
seeing
proves.
three of me. And the reason you're seeing three of me is because I have two iPads in the Zoom session here, and we're going to talk a little bit about backup and restore. So, firstly, if you remember from our first um, session, we talked about sort of the hierarchy of OnSong and how things are stored, and the way it kind of sits inside of the iOS environment. And it's all big one lump, right? In terms of iOS, it's all big one lump there in my hands um, of stuff, right? And that stuff includes all your song, all the lyrics, all any PDFs, any doc files, any things like that, right? It's all one big lump. Now, that lump is actually kept in a library. That's the top of the hierarchy in OnSong. So when you back up your world, you are backing up, well, you're backing up everything if you have selected a backup media files. I'm going to go over to Ralph here, and I'm going to share my screen so that you can see what we're doing. Start the broadcast. And here it comes. There you go. And now we are sharing my screen. And now we can go to OnSong. Oh, there you go. It's all about the bass. All right. All about the bass, no treble. All right. So here we go. First of all, in your tools and support and settings, right here in settings, you will find under advanced this item called backup media files. Now, if that is off, your media files. Now, what are media files? Media files are your tracks. Media files are any images or PDFs, GIFs rather, GIFs or JPEGs that you may use for background for your broadcasts. All of those are media files, and they are kept in your library, but they're kept individually. Now, if you turn that on, they all get backed up. If you turn it off just by doing that, right, on off, right, just a switch, if you turn it off, they are not backed up. All that will be backed up is going to be your song files and your song database. So if you have some PDFs, those will get backed up, or DOXs, those will get backed up. And of course, all the text files, or not files, but all the text that you store in your database. So this is a real important setting. And so you want to make sure you check or uncheck that depending on what you're doing. And we'll say done here. And we'll go back to our backup. Now, so I want to do one other thing. And that is I want to show you, I'll go back to, now I have my menu reversed on this because I happen to like my song list over here while I can still see my lyrics. And you can do that very easily in settings. We'll talk about that at another time. But if I go back here to all songs, and if I go back here to my library, you'll see I have a couple of different libraries on this particular machine. One is my default library, and that's where everything is. Also, note the size. It's 1.2 gigabyte. That's a lot. I have several hundred backing tracks that I use. Now they're all MP3s, and you've probably seen threads about should I use waves or MP3s, and the answer is waves are huge, MP3s are smaller. Waves have complete fidelity, MP3s have good commercial fidelity. And so if I was using 300 or so waves, this database, my default library would probably be in the 5 to 8 gigabyte range. It would be huge. And for the types of shows that I do, I don't need that the wave fidelity. Now, I would challenge you to listen to a wave file and then listen to an MP3 file and see if you can detect the difference. If you can, you're probably listening at very high volumes, or you have an extremely good set of ears. If you can't, then that's a really good way to think about whether I should be using waves or MP3s. Now, when I do my construction of backing tracks, because I do a lot of custom tracks, I do it all in wave, but eventually I sample them down to an MP3. So we've got a couple of defaults. Now I'm going to go and make a new library. Easy to do. Hit the plus sign, get a little dialog box, and I'm going to say training. My training library, right? And press done. Bingo, it's all done. So now I have a training library. Now, if I go to look at that training library, OnSong's going to change libraries, and it's going to try and figure out if I've got anything in it, and there's one file in it, right? And it's Welcome to OnSong, which is the default library. So when it builds a database, this is just like a new install. When it builds a database, you get the Welcome to OnSong. Now, if I want to move or get a whole bunch of songs into this new library, I use a restore function. And where's the restore function? Well, down here, there's a box with a down arrow. That's to add things. Then I can go to, where am I going to import from? Well, in this case, I'm going to import. I can import from a document scanner, Dropbox, file sharing, and we can talk about file sharing or files. Google Drive, if I have Google Drive and I've got to get it, or just from the internet somewhere. Now, there's Planning Center, Praise Charts, Song Select, Worship Planning, Worship Ready. All of those are different sources of music for worship purposes, and they all have different ways that they manage and handle files. But as you can see, OnSong can talk to any of those. But in this case, I'm just going to go up to Dropbox because that's what I use. Now, it will take a minute, and here is everything that's up in my Dropbox. My Dropbox is a giant digital catch-all. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff, all the different kinds of projects I do. If I scroll down here somewhere, down here in the O's, I have a bunch of different OnSong stuffs, and I have an OnSong training file, training subdirectory. So I'm going to look at that. Oop, there are some files there. And now I'm going to look for a backup file that I can install. And let me see where that is. Training library V2. Let's see what's in this one. Oh, it's not too big. So let's see. I'm going to poke that. Get a little warning. You have selected OnSong backup file to import. This will restore your library, but overwrite your existing songs and sets. Do I want to continue? The answer is yes, because I know I just made this library and it's for all intents and purposes empty. So I want to restore that. Now, remember that, and that was very fast. Now let's go see what happened here. If I go back to songs and I look, oh, look at this. I've got a whole bunch of new songs. Now, in this library, my menu system is the default with songs on the left and settings and things, utilities on the right. And that's because the settings that you have for your library travel with the library. If I go back and go to all songs, whoops, sorry, go to manage libraries, and I pick up my default library, it's going to change libraries. And now you're going to see at some point, there you go. Now I can look and if I pick a new song, right? Ah, look at that. Ah, guess what? This actually put my menu system back with songs on the left and songs on the right. So I want to fix that. Let's go to settings, menu settings, menu bar. And I come down here. I reverse the menu bar. I say done. Going to rewrite my screen. Ah, now it's back the way I like it. Okay, so the backup flipped my menu bar. No big deal. I went up and a couple mouse clicks and reset it. It's one of the features. Now, it should have stayed the same, granted, but it didn't. But hey, 3 clicks and I'm done. All right, so now I'm back in my default library. I have all my utilities over here and I have my songs here, so I can pick a song while I'm still working on things like that, right? 16 tons, all sorts of good stuff. All right, now, so let's do a backup. Now, I'm not going to do my big database because, as you saw, it's 1.2 gig. It takes about 15 minutes to back that up to Dropbox. Why? Because it's big. I have to transfer 1.2 gigabyte worth of information up to Dropbox. It's gonna take some time, folks. 15 minutes is nothing. I mean, it's an eternity in computer time, but it's really not much in real. You can't even drink a whole cup of Starbucks in 15 minutes. So, you know, it's really not too much. But so now we're going to do backup. Wait a minute. First of all, I want to switch libraries. Back to here. Manage libraries. And I'm going to switch back to the training library because that's what we want to do. It's changing the library. Yep, there we go. Okay. And the menus have pretty much stayed the same. Now I can hit backup. All right. So here's some very important things to keep in mind. First of all, where am I going to send this backup? Well, I'm going to send this to OnSong Backups, but I could send it to a number of places. One of the places I can send it to is File Sharing, which is the local file store. I'm sorry, Files, which is a local file store on your iPad. And that's a very fast backup because it's local, right? Dropbox needs a network. So here's my Dropbox again, and I can choose a new place to put this, right? So I put it up in here, and there's all sorts of things I can go there, but we're not going to do that. Okay, I'm going to come back here, and my Dropbox says it's going to OnSong Backups. Now, what's the name of my backup file? The name of my backup file, Training Library V2. I could make this Training Library V3. I could it just disappeared. Back up. Training Library V2, Training Library V3, and I'll drop that. Now, the other thing you can do is append a timestamp to the file name. I don't need to do that because I've already given this backup file a unique name. If you don't give the backup file a unique name, this backup file will overwrite the backup file that already exists in this subdirectory called, or folder called, OnSong Backups, right? The next thing is automatic backups. And guess what? We're not doing automatic backups. Do not do automatic backups. Make yourself a process to do backups on a regular basis. You know, put a sticky note up on your desk or something. Automatically backing up the library can interrupt whatever you're doing, because the iPad just says, oh, time to back up. And then all of a sudden, you're going to see your iPad slow down. You're going to see network connection slow down because a bunch of stuff going. Jim, did you have a comment?
I guess the one big thing that will help people a lot in this is to best thing to do, pick your cloud, storage area, say like Sam was saying, Dropbox. Go ahead and make sure you install that on the iPad and get it, because you're gonna have to log in, get it communicating with the cloud, and then, move a file for the cloud, your system. Basically, what we're saying is get all that set up before you even try a backup.
Yep.
This way, you're not having to debug those issues while you're trying to do the backup. So the tip there is just go ahead and get that cloud provider's, utility installed on your iPad and get that working.
That's a great tip. So then we say backup. Now, watch down here. Export in process. Well, that was very fast. That was really fast. Why? Because it's a very small file, right? There's only a half a dozen songs in this training database, and it's small because that's the way I wanted it. In Wreck of the Old 97, which is a fun song to play. Now, if I do a big backup, you actually see, and I'm going to come back here, down on the bottom here where it says last backed up October 14th at 9:24, right? What you'll also see is you'll see a rolling clock. And that rolling clock goes from 0 to 100% twice. The first roll through 0 to 100% is to build the backup file. Training library v3 dot backup is going to be the file that you'll see. The second roll from 0 to 100 is the actual transfer of the file to the export locations. So there's two steps to backup. Build the backup file and then transfer the backup file to the target export location. And those two things kind of go hand in hand. And you can watch on your system if you're trying to figure out why my backups take so long. Just watch the roll. You'll see that the first roll is probably pretty quick, even for a 1 gigabyte database. Might take maybe a minute or so. The second roll might take a real long time, like that 15 to 20 minutes, because it's a 1 gigabyte file. That's the speed of your network between your iPad and your target location, in this case, Dropbox. Guys and gals, keep in mind, if you're using Wi-Fi in your home or Wi-Fi where you're going, even if you have like 100 megabyte connection from your internet provider, the Wi-Fi is not going to give you that speed, right? That's the on-the-wire speed between your laptop hardwire connected to your router. Wi-Fi is a lot slower, and if you have multiple units on the Wi-Fi, it's going to be even slower because they're all sharing the bandwidth. So there's a lot of bandwidth issues. I'm not going to go into those. We can go into them at a later date once we get this in an interactive session. So anyways, so that's about backup. So let's now talk about, well, we did a restore. I want to make sure that you do that. So to do that, I'm going to stop my screen broadcast on this. And I'm going to go over to Ed here. And do a screen share Come on. Screen share. Screen. And start a broadcast. Okay. Now, you're going to see this. This is a different iPad. And this has a fresh install of OnSong on it. And there you go. What's in a fresh OnSong? What's in a fresh OnSong? Welcome to OnSong file. That's all you see, right? Here we go. This is my all songs. It's that. Now, the other thing to note, we'll go down here. There's only one library, the default library. So this is what a fresh install of OnSong looks like. All right. We're going to come back here and we're going to go to songs, all songs, and we're going to hit the little down arrow button again, right? Here we go in that box. And it's going to tell me I want to import. Oh boy. Oh boy. Guess what? Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Oh man, oh man, oh man. And I cannot remember my Dropbox. Oh no. Oh no. I apologize. I'm not going to sit here and guess my password because it's been so long. But you get the point, right? I go to Dropbox, I find that file, and I install it. We can go back to the other machine and show you that, which is what I'll do. Okay. That, by the way, that machine you just saw, that's a brand new iPad that I picked up. But again, configuration is everything. I couldn't get to Dropbox because I wasn't logged in. As a matter of fact, I don't even think I put the Dropbox app on that new iPad. So I have to
Yep.
I have to go back and do a little extra work there. But let me go back to here and share my content, screen share. This is Ralph. We'll go over here. There he is. Go back there. Screen sharing. Come back to OnSong. And let's check and see what library I'm in. Oh, I'm just in my training library, so that's good. So now if I go up to, whoops, if I go to my import, right? So you can add a new song. This is kind of a bring songs in. I can export, right? No backup here, just export, right? There's a difference, right? But I can go to Dropbox. Now, it will take a moment, try and find things. Now that went to OnSong Backup, which is actually where I keep my personal backups for this device. Let me see, OnSong Backups right there. And there's the training library V3 that we just backed up, right? It's only 800 gig, right? Not my 800 KB.
Okay,
Not
yep.
much. Not much. That's why it didn't take long. If I go to my OnSong backup folder, you can see here, it's still looking, right? Okay. You can see the size of these backups from my systems, right? So there's OnSong 22, OnSong from my Mac, because I do testing, right, for that. Some OnSong here, backup STB. There's a whole bunch of different backups for different purposes, but you can see they're all 1.9 gig large. They're big files. So it takes some time to transfer from your iPad to wherever that network issue is going. All right, I think we've managed to run this topic about as far as we can go. What do you think, Jim?
Yep, looks good.
Okay. Well, I'm going to stop this. Stop that. There we go. And how about if I just leave the meeting here? And I'll leave the meeting over here. Ralph and Ed say goodbye. There we go. So now it's down to Jim and I. And
Still recording, right? Yep.
Yep. Still recording. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, you can actually ask the questions on the link. We'll upload this file here in just a few minutes. Well, actually in probably about 15 minutes or so. And then we'll get you going. Jim, any final comments?
No, I think it was good. Just this is something we try to preach all the time because we see lots of people, I deleted my application and all my songs are gone. Remember, we talked about that in the last episode. Make sure that you get a backup done before you ever delete any application.
Right.
But like Sam was even showing you, saw a true case of it there. Again, I can't emphasize enough. Go ahead and get whatever cloud provider's application installed onto your iPad and get that working. That way, that communication is working before you ever do a backup or restore. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. By the way, the other thing we got just a couple of minutes left. I don't know how long we are. Oh, there we are. Hi, Zuzu. There you can see the tail wagging. Remember, as we started this process, we said let's back up all the media files, right? So that includes all my backing tracks and GIFs and JPEGs and things like that, right? However, it does not include and cannot include files that you're keeping in iTunes or music, what's called music now, right? Those are not backed up by the OnSong backup process, whether you've turned that media switch on or not. And reason? They're kept in another application, right? So how do you back those up? You have to do a complete iPad backup, right? Which means you have to sign into iTunes if you're in the Windows environment still, or in the Mac environment, you would sign on to, you would use Finder. And in Finder, you will see a link for your iPad, and you can do a backup, and you can do a full backup there. So that's the first thing. Second thing is be aware that iTunes Music tends to play at times hide and seek with the links between OnSong and your backing tracks. And that what do I mean by that? I mean, they might move a song around based on whatever. We don't know how that all works. And when they do, it will break the link between OnSong and your backing track, and you'll probably have to re-link it. So I recommend strongly that you use MP3s for your media files, and you put those media files in the OnSong audio media library, nowhere else. That way, when it gets backed up, it will get backed up. All right. I think that's it.
Yep.
Hey, so thanks for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate it. We do want to do this live. We just have some technology issues that are blocking us from doing it. One of them belongs to Facebook, but we'll figure it out, and we will be doing this live. And we look forward to doing them that way. But meanwhile, we do want to get these Circle of Fits videos started. And here you go. So thank you very much for tuning in. And we'll see you all next Friday morning.
Next time, guys.
Bye-bye.